I'm not sure. What do you think?
I've got a bad feeling about him.
You do?
Yeah, definitely.
Good evening, Dave.
How you doing, Hal?
Everything's running smoothly, and you?
Oh, not too bad?
In 1968, humanity witnessed something unprecedented. A film that dared to capture the entire scope of human evolution in a single cut. That cut, from a primitive bone weapon to a nuclear satellite, remains one of cinema's most audacious transitions. This is 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it changed everything. When Stanley Kubrick began production in 1965, science fiction was still largely the domain of rubber-suited aliens and rickety rocket ships. The space race was in full swing, but no human had yet walked on the moon. In this charged atmosphere, Kubrick and author Arthur C. Clarke set out to create something revolutionary. Not just a space adventure, but a meditation on humanity's past, present, and future. The numbers tell part of the story. MGM invested $10.5 million, an astronomical sum for 1968. The film would go on to earn $146 million globally, but more importantly, it would fundamentally reshape our visualization of space travel. What's remarkable is that it did this before we even had real images of astronauts on the moon. This wasn't just another sci-fi spectacle. 2001 emerged at a crucial moment in American culture. The optimism of the space race collided with deep anxieties about technology's growing influence. The film captured this duality perfectly, celebrating human achievement while warning of its dangers. While audiences in 1968 watched Bowman and Poole navigate the sterile corridors of Discovery 1, the broader world grappled with Vietnam, social upheaval, and the looming promise, or threat, of artificial intelligence. But perhaps most importantly, 2001 dared to be different. In an era of exposition-heavy narratives, it embraced silence. When other films rushed to explain their mysteries, it remained steadfastly ambiguous. And while its contemporaries were content with theatrical artifice, Kubrick pursued a level of technical authenticity that would influence filmmaking for decades to come. This is the story of how one film broke all the rules, divided audiences and critics alike, and ultimately helped cinema itself evolve into something new. A story that, like the mysterious monolith at its center, continues to inspire wonder and debate more than half a century later. What does it take to convince audiences they're truly seeing the future? In 1968, Stanley Kubrick answered this question by pushing the boundaries of what was possible in filmmaking. Let's break down exactly how 2001 achieved its revolutionary vision. At the heart of the film's technical achievements stands the groundbreaking front projection system. Unlike traditional rear projection, which often looked artificial, this new technique allowed actors to interact with pre-filmed footage with unprecedented realism. The African dawn sequences were shot entirely in a studio, yet they remain convincingly authentic even by today's standards. But perhaps the most ambitious technical feat was the massive centrifuge set. A 30-ton rotating wheel, 38 feet in diameter, capable of spinning at 3 miles per hour. Built by Vickers Armstrong Engineering Group, this remarkable structure allowed actors to appear to walk upside down and created the illusion of artificial gravity. The entire set cost nearly $750,000, equivalent to several million today. The film's visual effects supervisor, Douglas Trumbull, faced a unique challenge: how to visualize a journey beyond infinity. His solution? The groundbreaking slit-scan photography technique. Using a computer-controlled camera moving past an array of artwork and high-contrast materials, Trumbull created the psychedelic Stargate sequence, all without modern CGI. Then there's the revolutionary approach to space itself. Kubrick insisted on scientific accuracy in depicting zero gravity and space physics. The slow, balletic movements of ships and space stations, the absolute silence of space scenes. These choices weren't just artistic, they were a deliberate rejection of the sci-fi conventions of the time. Sound design played an equally crucial role. The decision to use classical pieces like Also Sprach Zarathustra and the Blue Danube wasn't just artistic flourish. It helped establish space travel as something graceful and elegant rather than purely mechanical. The contrast between the classical score and the eerie silence of space created a unique auditory experience that still influences filmmakers today. But perhaps the most subtle yet significant technical achievement was HAL's presence. Through careful lighting, pristine set design, and Douglas Rain's unnervingly calm voice performance, Kubrick created an AI character that felt omnipresent without ever having a physical form. Think about it. How do you make an audience fear a character that's essentially just a red light and a voice? The techniques pioneered in 2001 set new standards for special effects. From the realistic space sequences in Gravity to the practical effects of Interstellar, modern filmmakers continue to build on Kubrick's foundation. But what makes these achievements truly remarkable isn't just their technical brilliance, it's how seamlessly they serve the story. Next time you watch a modern sci-fi film, ask yourself, would this be possible without 2001's groundbreaking innovations? And how many of these half-century-old effects still hold up today? At the heart of 2001's enduring impact lies a collection of performances that redefined subtle acting for the science fiction genre. In the vastness of space, human emotion becomes more powerful when stripped to its essence. Keir Dullea portrayal of Dr. Dave Bowman stands as a masterclass in minimalist acting. His restrained performance builds slowly, culminating in the haunting HAL deactivation scene. Watch his face during those final moments with HAL. The slight tremor in his voice as the AI regresses, singing Daisy Bell. It's a scene that works precisely because of what Dullea doesn't do, allowing the audience to project their own complex emotions onto his careful stoicism. Douglas Rain's contribution as the voice of HAL 9000 revolutionized how we imagine artificial intelligence. Originally, Kubrick had cast Martin Balsam, but found his voice too emotional. Rain's soft-spoken, eerily reasonable tone created something far more unsettling. An AI whose politeness masks something darker. "I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that," becomes terrifying precisely because of its gentleness. Rain recorded his lines in a single day, never visiting the set, yet created one of cinema's most memorable antagonists. Gary Lockwood's Frank Poole serves as humanity's everyman aboard Discovery 1. His casual chess game with HAL, his birthday message from home, his daily routines, all build a sense of normalcy that makes the film's later events more shocking. Lockwood had to perform many scenes in a bulky spacesuit, with his face barely visible, yet manages to convey volumes through subtle body language. The most remarkable aspect of these performances is how they work together to create a sense of isolation. The actors had to convey both professional detachment and underlying tension, all while dealing with challenging practical effects and Kubrick's infamous perfectionism. Take the scene where Bowman and Poole discuss Hal's potential malfunction in the pod. The deliberate awkwardness of their conversation speaks volumes about the paranoia growing aboard the ship. What's fascinating is how these performances influenced science fiction acting for decades to come. Before 2001, sci-fi often meant melodramatic reactions to alien threats. After it, actors learned that in space, less could be more. The emotional restraint shown by Sandra Bullock in Gravity or Sam Rockwell in Moon owes a direct debt to the groundwork laid by Dullea and Lockwood. Perhaps most impressively, these performances enhance rather than detract from the film's grand themes. Through their restraint, they remind us that even as humanity reaches for the stars, we remain beautifully, tragically human. It's worth asking, in an age of increasingly sophisticated special effects, do we still appreciate the power of such subtle acting choices? When 2001 A Space Odyssey premiered in April 1968, the audience reaction was unprecedented. During the New York premiere, 241 people walked out, including Rock Hudson, who famously asked, "Will someone tell me what the hell this is about?" The initial critical response was equally divisive. Prominent critics were brutal. Pauline Kael called it a monumentally unimaginative movie. Others labeled it pretentious, incomprehensible, and a big, beautiful bore. Yet something fascinating happened. Young audiences began flocking to the film, particularly during late-night screenings. They saw something the critics initially missed: a revolutionary piece of cinema that demanded multiple viewings. MGM, initially worried about the mixed reception, made a crucial decision. They embraced the film's ambiguity, launching an advertising campaign with the tagline, "The Ultimate Trip." This clever pivot transformed the film's mysterious nature from a liability into an asset. Kubrick himself made significant changes after the premiere, cutting 19 minutes from the original version, tightening the pace without compromising his vision. The film harbors fascinating details that revealed themselves over years of analysis. The famous HAL 9000 name, for instance, has been noted to be a one-letter shift from IBM, though Kubrick always denied this was intentional. The monolith dimensions follow precise mathematical ratios, 1 to 4 to 9, the squares of the first three integers. Even the film's running time contains hidden meaning. The 139-minute length corresponds to the distance between Earth and Jupiter during filming. Perhaps most intriguingly, Kubrick removed a significant amount of explanatory narration and dialogue from the original script. Early versions included a prologue featuring scientists discussing extraterrestrial life. By stripping these elements away, he created something more profound: a visual experience that trusted audiences to find their own meaning. As decades passed, critical opinion dramatically shifted. The same elements that initially confused viewers, the lengthy silences, the ambiguous ending, the emphasis on visual storytelling over dialogue, became recognized as the film's greatest strengths. What was once dismissed as slow and confusing was reappraised as meditative and profound. The film's controversial elements evolved into its most celebrated aspects. The Stargate sequence, initially criticized as indulgent, is now studied in film schools as a masterpiece of experimental cinema. The deliberate pacing, once called boring, is recognized as essential to creating the film's hypnotic power. Even Hal's death scene, which some early viewers found tedious, is now considered one of cinema's most moving moments. This evolution in reception raises a fascinating question. Did the film change, or did we change? As our relationship with technology has grown more complex, as space exploration has advanced, and as cinema has evolved, 2001 seems increasingly prescient. What audiences in 1968 found baffling, modern viewers often find eerily relevant to our own time. What other films have undergone such a dramatic transformation in how they're perceived? And what does this tell us about how we watch and understand cinema? Half a century later, 2001. A Space Odyssey's influence extends far beyond the realm of science fiction. Its DNA can be found everywhere, from Apple's white, minimalist aesthetic to our ongoing conversations about AI ethics. But what makes this film particularly relevant today? Consider how accurately it predicted our relationship with technology. Hal's calm, reasonable voice echoes in every virtual assistant we use today. The video calls between Bowman and his family, once purely speculative, now feel remarkably familiar. Even the film's depiction of AI malfunction speaks directly to our current debates about artificial intelligence safety and control. Modern filmmakers consistently pay homage to Kubrick's masterpiece. Christopher Nolan's Interstellar deliberately echoed 2001's commitment to scientific accuracy and practical effects. Denis Villeneuve's Arrival drew from its patient philosophical approach to First Contact. Alex Garland's Ex Machina built upon its unsettling exploration of AI consciousness. But beyond these direct influences, the film established a visual language that's become fundamental to how we imagine space. The technical innovations pioneered by 2001 set standards that remain relevant. When Alfonso Cuarón made Gravity, he faced many of the same challenges Kubrick did. How to convey the physics of space, how to create convincing zero-gravity effects, how to capture the terrifying silence of the void. Modern solutions might rely more on digital tools, but the core principles established by 2001 still guide these decisions. Perhaps most significantly, 2001's approach to storytelling feels increasingly relevant in our digital age. Its preference for visual storytelling over exposition, its trust in audience intelligence, its willingness to leave questions unanswered. These qualities speak to a generation raised on complex, multi-layered narratives. In an era of endless content and instant explanations, its deliberate ambiguity feels more powerful than ever. The film's grand themes, human evolution, technological advancement, the search for meaning in the cosmos, resonate even more strongly today. As private companies launch space missions, as AI systems grow more sophisticated, as we grapple with humanity's place in the universe, 2001's meditations on these subjects feel less like science fiction and more like prophecy. This brings us to a crucial question. What makes a film truly timeless? 2001 wasn't just ahead of its time, it exists outside of time, speaking to fundamental questions about human nature and our destiny among the stars. As we stand on the brink of new frontiers in AI and space exploration, its insights and warnings feel more urgent than ever. We're living in an age where science fiction increasingly becomes science fact. In this context, 2001 serves not just as a masterpiece of cinema, but as a guide to our own future. It reminds us that every technological advance brings both promise and peril, that human evolution continues beyond our planet, and that the greatest mysteries of existence still lie ahead. What vision of the future will define our own era? And will any film capture the imagination of future generations the way 2001 continues to captivate us? If you found this exploration of 2001: A Space Odyssey illuminating, consider diving deeper into its mysteries. There's always something new to discover in its depths. Before we wrap up our journey through this masterpiece, let me share some intriguing details you might have missed. The famous Dawn of Man sequence used mime artists in ape suits rather than real apes, trained by professionals for months to perfect their movements. During the film's production, Kubrick was so concerned about the possibility of real alien contact that he took out insurance with Lloyd's of London against proof of extraterrestrial intelligence being discovered before the film's release. Here's something that might blow your mind. There isn't a single traditional camera movement in the film's space sequences. Every shot is from the perspective of either the characters or the spacecraft themselves. And while puzzling over Hal's name, consider this. The computer in the Discovery sister ship was called SIL, suggesting a subtle gender distinction that adds another layer to the film's exploration of artificial consciousness. If you've enjoyed unraveling these cinematic mysteries with me, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll be diving deep into more groundbreaking films that shaped cinema as we know it. Let me know in the comments which hidden detail surprised you most, or share your own interpretations of the film's enigmatic ending. Until next time, keep looking up at the stars, and maybe keep an eye out for any suspicious monoliths.